have a Michelin star. There's only 3 in Wales, so we try to do our best with the food. This morning I did a cookery demonstration on fish. Wales, as you know, it's got a wonderful coastline and it's got some fantastic fish. And what we're trying to do at the moment in food festivals is try and persuade people to eat a lot more fish. But this afternoon we move on, and Wales also has some of the finest meat there is. So I'm going to show you a few simple dishes. What I've got some beautiful black beef. This is a ribeye steak. Normally when you go to a restaurant, you normally have a big huge piece of fat in there and all the sinew around, but at Tyddyn Llan we trim it all up, take out the sinew, and you have just this prime piece of meat. I'm going to cook that au poivre. Au poivre means it's with pepper, French way, and the classically steak au poivre is crushed white and black peppercorns, and we coat the steak, fry it in butter and a little bit of oil, finish it in brandy, and it's that so simple. Another way sometimes you might see au poivre in a restaurant is the green peppercorn sauce. Completely different, but very nice. So I'll show you how we do it at the restaurant. First of all, we got here, also of course, in Wales you can't do anything without showing a nice piece of lamb. There's some beautiful carcasses down there. This is from my butcher in Bala, TJ Roberts. Fantastic butcher. But when we first moved to Llanrhisto, I thought, wow, we're going to have some fantastic lamb to cook with, and I was so wrong, because what the butcher didn't realise that he killed it on a Thursday, tried to sell it to me on a Saturday, and lamb, like beef, needs to be hanged for at least, I would say, 10 days. Beef, we hang it for like 3 to 4 weeks. What we have here is a nice free-range chicken. This is from the Riga Steak, which is in Corwen, Lord Newborough's place. He supplies lots of top London restaurants with his chickens and his meat. He doesn't supply us with that much because I don't believe that organic is the best. If you've got a good butcher and he hangs it properly for you, I think that's all you need. So we just take the 2 breasts off this crown. We use the legs as well in the restaurant for exactly the same dish. On a lunchtime dish, we just braise them for a bit longer, but obviously time, I'm sure you don't want to hang around while I braise 2 legs of chicken, so I'm going to show you this dish with a breast. So in a pan which has been preheated, a little bit of oil, and pop the 2 breasts inside just to give them a little bit of colour. What we're going to make is a tarragon and morel sauce. I don't know if you've seen these in the supermarkets. You probably see a little jar of these morels and they cost a £5, and you just look at them and say, what am I going to do with that? Well, these are a wild mushroom. And I think dried morels are far better than fresh morels. Fresh morels cost you up to £30–40 a kilo when they're in season. A very short season, which is sort of May, first 2 weeks of June, and that's it, finished. But a lot of them go in Turkey, they dry them, and this is what they look like. And what you have to do is just bring them back to life with a little bit of water. Just some warm water straight from the tap, and just leave them for 10 minutes and they'll soften up, but the flavour that they'll add to the sauce is incredible. The herb chicken tarragon classic, so we've got some fresh tarragon. Season the chicken. And a little bit of salt. These breasts will take about 12 to 14 minutes to cook. In this pot here, we've got some chicken stock simmering. But the other dish I want to show you using chicken stock is another vegetable famous for Wales, the leek. And in the restaurant we do a nice leek risotto, which we serve with some roast turbot and a red wine sauce. And also as a starter we offer it with some truffles. Truffles these are summer truffles, so these are only about £150 a kilo, where white truffles can fetch up to £3,000 a kilo. And my wife won't let me buy those because she could buy a few handbags instead of me buying a kilo of truffles. So to make a risotto, you just need a saucepan, add some butter, generous amount of butter. We have some chopped shallots and we have some chopped leeks. You notice what I've done with the leek. I had to do this beforehand, is that we cut it in half. We don't go all the way to the core, and half again. So it's quartered, and then you can wash it under the tap, get all the grit out. Sometimes when chefs join us and ask them to chop leeks and they just chop them up and then wash all the bits under the tap, it doesn't work like that. So nice clean leek, and then you can finely chop them away. A risotto, some people think that risotto is a very difficult dish to make. It's not true. It does take a little bit of stirring, but you can actually make it before your dinner party and just reheat it, sort of, you know, when you're ready to serve it. Just that you wouldn't have to miss out on the rest of the evening spending half an hour stirring your risotto if you want to serve it to your guests. We'll have these back here. Chicken should be nicely coloured on the skin side. We just turn it over. Got nicely coloured chicken, season the skin side. And when I season with salt, I like to use sea salt. Never use cooking salt. Table salt we use for boiling vegetables. Or I always find Hallamon salt, haven't got any, so but second best, I use Malden sea salt. So to make the sauce is going to be made while the chicken cooks. It's called, I forgot what it's called now. It's basically like a nice little casserole. So butter, spot of brandy, some tio pepe. Classically in the French cooking, to make this sauce, you would use a wine called a Côte de Jura, but it's about 18 pounds a bottle, so tio pepe works just as well, and a little bit of white wine. So in that goes a few stalks of the tarragon that we picked earlier. Pop that in, and a little bit of chicken stock. We'll pop this in the oven for about 12 minutes. Hot oven, that's hot, it's about 200, 220. Unless we're cooking pastry, that's the temperature we cook basically everything at. So melted butter for your risotto. In goes your shallots and your leeks. And we're just going to break these down so they go nice and soft. And a little tip, when you're cooking shallots, onions or leeks, you just add a little sprinkling of salt. It makes the process happen a little bit quicker. So the garnish that we're going to use for our lamb today is what I call a spiced aubergine salad. It's basically an imambaldi, which is aubergines, tomato, garlic, and the spice is cumin. It's a really nice accompaniment to lamb. Lamb and aubergine is a marriage in heaven anyway, but also it's a nice little starter as well, so room temperature with a little bit of yogurt on top. You can get buffalo mozzarella, that's really good as well. So it's got lots of uses, and I'll just show you how to make it. So again, pan, this time some olive oil, and you need a chopped onion and some garlic. People always say to me, how do you chop an onion? So just quickly peel the onion, core away from you, hold your fingers like that so the knife just slides down the onion, and don't go all the way. And if you hold the knife like that, normally I can look up all the time, but you know, the people watching me is a little bit more daunting. So through there again, not all the way, and down. And that's how to chop your onion for your imambaldi. So here's one I did earlier. In it goes. For one aubergine, I've got half an onion, 3 cloves of garlic. Rather than use I always use a grater to grate my garlic. Find it a lot easier and you get a much better result. than using a garlic press where half the garlic stays inside the press. So we grate our garlic, and pop it in. Make sure it goes into the right pan, because garlic in risotto doesn't taste very nice, I can assure you. So again, we just need to cook this. We don't want to colour it, but we want the onion to go nice and soft. We're going to just seal the lamb and cook it, roast it for about 10 minutes in the oven. One of the most important parts of cooking meat is resting it as well. If you cook a piece of meat for 10 minutes and you cut it straight away, all you're going to have is a well done piece on the outside and a raw piece in the middle. Resting is just as important as cooking. Exactly the same with steak. If you cook a steak 2 minutes either side, you need to rest it for 4 minutes before you pull the sauce over and serve it. And on a Sunday at Tyddyn Llan, we roast a whole sirloin every Sunday, and we only roast it for 55 minutes, 60 minutes, and it's that big, and it costs about 70 quid to buy, so you can imagine the size of it. But just roasting it for 55 minutes to 60 minutes, but we let it rest for an hour before we serve our first slice. So it comes out the oven at 12 o'clock, and first customers get it about 1 o'clock. So resting, like I said, is very, very important. So we have an aubergine, one of my wife's favourite vegetables, so versatile. First time I ever used an aubergine, a long, long time ago. You probably couldn't even buy them in supermarkets. I was to make ratatouille. So ratatouille is just onions, peppers, aubergines, tomato, and courgettes at the end. It's very nice as well. I spoke earlier about making a pesto with fresh basil. That's things you can buy in supermarkets these days. Even amaze me, and not just I'm not going to name any brands, but you can buy fresh basil in supermarkets, make your own pesto, and all it is to make a pesto is fresh basil, some grated garlic, some pine nuts. You can either toast them or not, entirely up to you. Whiz it in a robo coupe, and then add some parmesan and olive oil. Simple as that. And if you bake an aubergine, half, then spoon some pesto over the top, grill it. Fantastic little starter. Or fantastic with some lamb chops as well. So years ago they used to tell you to salt aubergines. I don't think there's any need for that anymore, so we're not going to salt them. So you can see the leeks in the onions for risotto are sweating down, and this is gaining a little bit of colour. Normally a wooden spoon would be better, but we brought most of the kitchen with us, and there's one or two little items we forgot, so excuse me if you think I'm using the wrong things. But we have here some ground cumin. We buy cumin whole, and we we grind it up in a coffee grinder. A little bit of cumin. Every time you use a spice, such as cumin, coriander, cardamom, cook it out. Don't just add it and then straight away add any liquid, because you'll just get a raw taste and you won't get the right flavour to come out. Just leave that for a little minute. Check my pan is heating up. So just pop the rack lamb in the pan. We're not going to season it yet, because it's always best to seal then season rather than season and seal, because if you season it first, salt draws moisture out. As it draws moisture out the onions, it will draw moisture out your meat, and it won't be as tasty. So for the risotto, obviously the type of rice is quite important. People tell you to use arborio rice. I use Corwen rice. Much, much better. So a handful of rice, a little bit of seasoning, and basically let the rice be coated by the butter, the shallots and the leeks for the first minute.